One night in his 8th grade year, Bob Knight called me about noon, and he said, what do you know about that kid in Bedford? He said, well, they're playing a junior high game tonight. Why don't we go down? I'm sure he came out in the early part of the 4th quarter because they were quite well ahead, and we left, and then we were walking across the parking lot. And Bob said, who does he remind you of? I was thinking Stu Robinson was a pretty good player for them then, and a good athlete, and that's kind of where I was, although I didn't say it. And before I gave an answer, he said, Jerry West. I thought I was aiming a little low, but I was really impressed right away.
Knight was so impressed that when the best-selling book, Season on the Brink, came out shortly after that, he was quoted as saying that Damon was better than any guard Indiana had on their team right now. High praise for an 8th grader.
That makes Damon Bailey a national figure. And then he's in Sports Illustrated going into his freshman year. So here's a young kid, 14, 15 years old, a nationally known sports figure. People are wanting his autographs when he goes out in restaurants and that kind of thing. I mean, that became the norm for him.
When Damon got to high school at Bedford North Lawrence, his legend continued to grow. And Damon kept delivering, 3 times leading his team to the Final Four. The final time, his senior year of 1990, he took his team to the state championship game, played before the largest crowd ever to witness a high school game, 41,000 at the RCA Dome.
That game was phenomenal, and the excitement in that building, the atmosphere, was as big as anything I've ever been around. And I'm talking about NCAA tournaments and that type of thing. The atmosphere was phenomenal.
They're down in the last minutes against a really, really good Concord team that was undefeated, and he just willed them to win.
Out of all the great players to come out of the state of Indiana, nobody's had a career like Damon Bailey's. He's first-team All-State all 4 years. He goes to the Final Four 3 years. He wins the state championship as a senior before 41,000 people at the RCA Dome, on national TV, scores the last 11 points of the game to win it, runs up and hugs his parents after the game. I mean, if you were writing a novel about a high school basketball player, you couldn't make up a better story than the one Damon Bailey lived.
Damon capped off his senior season by being named Mr. Basketball and the National Player of the Year. And then it was on to Indiana to play for Bob Knight.
You still hear people say he didn't have a really successful college career. Well, that's only because he didn't have what they projected a Damon Bailey to do. But he graduated as the he still has won more tournament games than anybody in IU history. He was on great teams all the way through his 4 years. Terrific teams his first 3 years when he was with Calvert and Greg Graham and some great players. But there wasn't any question. He was a terrific college basketball player.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that he's in the top 10 in scoring still. He's in the top 10 in assists, and he's in the top 10 in steals at Indiana. He had a phenomenal career. So I would certainly put Damon with a lot of the greatest Indiana players that I've had a chance to see over the years.
Damon